and your laptops in your bags and away. Okay, let's be courteous to our guests. So the first person I'd like to introduce you to is Bianca Morrow. And Bianca lives in Lowell. She's an educator, producer, designer. She's pretty much done it all. She's been on the Lowell Cultural Council since 2017, and she'll tell you a little bit about what that means. She has over 20 years of international production and event management experience. And BRM Production that she's going to talk about today is based in Lowell, and it helps clients turn their napkin sketches into reality. I'm going to turn it over. Let's give Bianca a nice warm welcome.
The awkward and all the stuff to clip this on. All right, I have notes and things that I may or may not use, so we'll see when we get to there. But I want to introduce myself to everyone first. I love coming here. Deb and I were just talking. I'm not entirely sure if it's my second or third year coming to DifferenceMaker, but I really, really look forward to this day, despite the fact that I'm usually like totally rushed and driving out of Boston, which is definitely what happened today. So a little bit about me that has nothing to do with BRM production yet. So that's the BRM thing. You can read it. You can go to the website. I don't need to spout off about it. But I have been a serial entrepreneur my whole life. I started when I was about 17. Right now, BRM Production Management is the one that I'm focusing on. But I also love to travel. I love culture. I love music. I love art. I do CrossFit. I do all sorts of things. There are tons of things that make us up that are not just what we do for a living. And sometimes in the ventures you guys are all getting involved in, that can get forgotten. I also super love this cat, which is my cat tax for the next couple minutes while I talk to you. About 50% of you are a cat. All right, so in addition to loving arts and culture, working in the entertainment industry, cooking a crock pot every Sunday so that I have something to eat all week when I'm working really insane hours. I also sit on the Lowell Cultural Council, like Deb mentioned, and what that means is that I sit on a committee of about 7 to 10 people, depending on the year, and we distribute grant money that comes from the state, from the Mass Cultural Council. So it comes from the Cultural Council, it's allocated per municipality. Lowell gets a set amount of money, and then we have a grant cycle that begins in September, where we offer it up to anyone. So it doesn't have to be a 501c3 or 501c6. It can be an unincorporated individual or a for-profit organization. You apply for the grant, and the grants go up to usually $3,500 to $4,000, depending on the year. This is an untapped funding resource for everyone in this room. As long as your grant application has something to do with arts, culture, community, engagement, anything that can be remotely considered culture, your grant will be considered. So think about it, look it up, look up the Lowell Cultural Council grants. The cycle begins in September. You can get up to $4,000. So, Lowell Kinetic Sculpture Race, that is a non-profit event run completely by volunteers. This is something I produced that I conceived of in 2015-16 here in Lowell. We're entering our 5th year this year. You should check out the website on that too. It runs straight through your campus and has a couple of themes. It is human-powered art sculptures racing through a 7-mile obstacle course through Lowell, including the river. I am also the CEO of a fintech startup that 7 days ago, after 5 years of development, decided we were going to shut down our website and do a complete pivot based on market demands. That was not an easy decision. That is a nonprofit I founded that no longer exists, partly because it was a beast to run, and partly because the demand was higher than I could meet the needs for. TGP Experiences was a really cool travel company that I ran that no longer exists. And a long time ago, I turned my passion for photography into my job, which was a really bad idea. Don't do that. No, if you love something, you just put that to the side. And then we have BRM. This is not all of them. I've also been an EMT, I've owned other small businesses. I was an MCSE network administrator during the dot-com boom in the year 2000. I have a degree in marketing and advertising and art history. And why am I telling you all these seemingly unrelated things? Because failing is super important. And I've done it a lot. And to the point where now I can learn from it, now I can almost enjoy it. Sort of. Not every time. Everyone's probably seen this quote. Everyone who talks about failure uses this quote. It's because it's really, really true. If you're really living, if you're really trying, you are going to fail. That is something that is just part of life and something that you should welcome because every failure teaches you something. So, what are the things that we can learn from failure? Apparently not how to use the question. All right. Growth is a Darwinian necessity for us to fail to grow. Unless you are challenged, you can't grow. And failure provides challenge. Resilience. This one seems obvious, but it's true. The more times you try something and fail, the more resilient you become. The more resilient you become, the less it hurts. Experience points. So, a friend of mine failed a company called Tinsby, not just because the name was bad. Tinsby is an acronym, however, that holds true, which is there is no substitute for experience. And nothing is more true. It doesn't matter what you do, how long you've gone to school, how many books you've read. Until you try to put that into practical experience via trial and error and fail and learn from it, that's when you actually begin to grow. Value is what you bring to the table. Every time you fail, you get an opportunity to assess what you brought to the table. Did you give it everything you had? Did you give it too much? Did you forego other parts about yourself that you should have been taking care of? Every time you crash and burn something, it's an opportunity to figure out how you could have participated in your dream better. Knowledge, you learn from your mistakes, or at least you should. Take your mistakes, your failures, and tear them apart. Have a debrief, even if it's only with yourself. Write down the path of how you got there. Write down the moment it went totally sideways, and take that and learn from it. See failure as you being given the opportunity to level up, and use that for everything it has. Lastly, perspective. If you go out into your entrepreneurial ventures, believing that you are going to succeed on your first try, you are setting yourself up for a very painful experience. If you go out there knowing that you're going to put your heart and soul into something, and it is statistically not going to work, that's okay. But that's a perspective you will gain that you might convince yourself you have now, but it only really truly hits you the first time your first baby, your first dream has to be put aside. So, why, if we can learn from failure and we can grow from failure, why are we so resistant to fail? And this is my stupid slide, but it's because our culture is garbage at relating to failure. If you look at any of the social media platforms, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, TikTok, and any of them, LinkedIn, everything people put up there, and you've been told this before, but everything people put up there is their highlight reel. You need to stop comparing yourself to what you see in social media. It's BS, and you know it. Everyone is failing behind the scenes because that's the only way we grow. It's the only way we evolve. So if you stop comparing yourself to everybody else's highlight reel, in general, it will improve your perspective. And it will let you accept those failures and let you learn from those failures. And even let you talk about them. I could go into about 2 hours from here of like spectacular failures over the years from people we consider our entrepreneurial heroes. But you all have Google, and you can all look it up for yourself. But these are a few really notable failures. I know Deb can give the slides out, or you can take pictures of them or write them down. But even Sir James Dyson made 10,000 vacuums in his backyard before anyone noticed that maybe it was an okay vacuum. So it's not just learning from failure and getting comfortable with failure and being able to talk about failure and getting all these great things from it, but what's important is how you handle it and move forward afterwards. some of the things that can help you move forward and recover from failure. Number one is ignore the people who said, I told you so. Ignore the jerks. Everyone's got jerks in their lives. They're going to come around and say, I knew that would work. And it might be a family member. It might be a friend. It might be your roommate. It's not that they don't mean well, but you don't need that in that moment. You've got plenty of stuff. You're going to be hard enough on yourself. Don't take anything anyone says to heart after a failure. Understand that failing is okay. It is part of the process. It is what you need to move forward. Realize that this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to grow, it's an opportunity to learn, and it's an opportunity that's going to give you a step up against your competitors. Use this failure, use your mistakes. That's the only way you get that step up, is to take everything you can out of that experience, and it will make you stronger going into your next one. It's a great opportunity to revise your goals. There's another, quote that says, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. This is all that means. If your original goals and your original path led you to a fail, great. Now you know one way not to get there. So you can go back and try a different path. And in making that path, you make a plan. You don't go ahead blindly. You don't say, oh, I'll just randomly try it this other way. This is an opportunity to collect yourself, put everything down on paper, come up with a rock-solid plan, and go into it knowing it might not work. The most important part about being an entrepreneur is remembering that you're not alone. I could do a whole other thing on the fact that it gets real lonely sometimes when you're doing the entrepreneurial thing. But remember that the people you surround yourself are important resources in your business life and your personal life. If you're burying yourself in work 24/7, that's fine. But you've got to remember that the people around you are there for a reason, and you need to lean on them and ask for their advice. Now is like the end of it where I get to show off a little bit about what I do. So, BRM Production Management does logistics and management for large-scale art installations, placemaking ventures, and festivals. I had 20 years of rock and roll touring experience. I decided that I was all set with that. And I came back and created a company in 2015 that has been serving an underserved niche, which is construction scale art installations, which is like when cranes and excavators get involved, I'm in. And then festivals, arts and culture mostly, because music festivals kind of have everyone in the world wanting to work on them. And placemaking ventures, like temporary venues, beer gardens, stuff like that. So, since 2015, BRM Production Management has doubled its gross sales annually, every single year. It has been a ton of hard work, and in order to get there, I've had to use all those previous failures, all those things that didn't work out. Lessons I learned from each one of those contributed to the success of this company. We've done installs all over Boston, temporary. We've brought in artists from all over the world. That one's in front of the aquarium right now. The other one's in Kenmore Square. That one moves around Boston. These are international. That's the kinetic sculpture race in Lowell, which I'm going to put a different presentation of the day I got because it's so much fun. That is the patios on Boston City Hall Plaza. That one's in Lowell. That's the Points of Light Lantern Festival. That is the Bridge Street Bridge. That's a light festival in Boston, and that's where we end. It's a very short amount of time for these, so I had to kind of truncate some stuff. I hope any of that was helpful to you guys, and if anyone wants to reach out, I am absolutely always available. Yeah, all right. Deb says there's time for questions, so if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. I know I just rushed through a whole bunch of stuff. Yes. My greatest failure was the nonprofit Verona project. I sent that through the E4L Accelerator, which is based here in Lowell as well. The mission of the Grown Up Project was to help people with midlife career changes. What I did not realize is the amount of people who really wanted that help and the resources that would be necessary to cater to those folks. So when I released the company, publicly and put up the website and started doing some marketing, I got an immediate influx of thousands of people who wanted my help, and I just couldn't help them, and it was the single most heartbreaking experience that I've ever had. Yes?
What did you take from that experience?
I took from that is that you have to, so to apply that to everything, you have to be fully prepared. And you can never fully be prepared because things are going to come at you that you could never expect. But in the excitement to release the product, I never anticipated what the response would be correctly, so I should have done more market research, is a really good point. I should have beefed up my own team and taken the time to fundraise more prior to releasing the product and building a stronger support team and not thinking that I can handle everything on my own. Yes? Nonprofits are way harder. Anyone out there who's starting a nonprofit, you have my full support because, wow, is that an undertaking. And for-profits are no joke either, but nonprofits are a whole different ballgame. Yes?
What was your greatest success?
Today? So far today, BRM. BRM is my greatest success because it is the most, of all the companies that I've started, BRM is my heart. I put everything earnestly and honestly into BRM. There's no showmanship. There's no marketing that isn't true. It's 100% me, and it's 100% honest. And because of that, I have amazing employees, and more coming every day. And it proved to me that the more honest I am of showing myself and my own emotions and putting that into my company, the more I get back.
All right. Thank you very much, Bianca.
All right.
How many of you here at the university have heard of Love of the Game? Nobody else? Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to Allison. Love of the Game is a student organization that plans events and clinics for individuals with cognitive and physical disabilities. This actually started about 6 years ago on campus. It was a DifferenceMaker winner several years ago. And Allison is currently the president, and she's going to tell you a little bit about what they do. So maybe you'll be interested.
All right. Hello, everyone. So I'm Allison. I'm currently a junior exercise physiology major, and I just want to talk to you guys a bit about our club. So, like she was saying, we're a student-run organization, and we run athletic events and clinics for people with cognitive and physical disabilities. So sports is a great area where there's a lot of segregation for people with disabilities versus people without disabilities. So we're trying to break that link specifically through at the collegiate level. As you know, as the older people get, especially when they have disabilities, they kind of are offered less resources, less opportunities. So we wanted to, or Dan, who started this, wanted to make a club on our campus that kind of connected us with our community in the greater Lowell area. So the big thing is just promoting inclusion within sports. We do this through a bunch of different clinics, so we typically do like one every other week. We try to do as many as possible just because we've talked to a lot of the parents who have told us that this is really the only outlet for their child, whether it be because other sporting events are too stimulating for them or anything like that. So we do want to make sure that we're providing enough opportunities that me and the rest of my club can manage. So A little bit of our history. So we were actually a DifferenceMaker winner for 2015, the social impact. It was started by Dan Smith, who is a business entrepreneurship. But as you can see, the team consisted of exercise physiology majors along with business students. So this ran pretty successfully for 2 years. Unfortunately, from the academic year 2017 to 2018, after the team had graduated, we kind of went on a little hiatus until last year's president, Matt Short, kind of picked it up and started it as a club again. So we're kind of finally finding our footing after having that year where we didn't really do anything, fundraise at all or anything like that. So it's been really good since then. So as you can see at the start, there's a lot of exercise physiology and business students kind of running it. That stayed the same last year quite a bit, like we were dominated by exercise physiology majors. But luckily this year we kind of made it put in a lot of effort to try and get more students from North Campus. So we have chemical engineers, we have business students, we have exercise physiology, mechanical engineers. So we're kind of expanding away from South Campus because we felt that that was really important for us to do. And it's pretty difficult to run this club because you need to have people who can do community outreach, marketing, a bunch of different options for our club to be able to run efficiently and not have too much weight on one person. So this year we did a lot to try and spread out responsibilities to make sure that one, people are getting experience, and two, that it just doesn't become too overwhelming for one person. So the events we run ultimate frisbee, we've done floor hockey, we did a field day last year that was just a lot of like soccer events, football events, like just small little stations, basically an obstacle course that went really, really well. We do basketball, we do soccer, basically any sport we try and like run ourselves, whether that's us doing research. For example, we have ultimate frisbee March 15th, so we're going to have to try and figure out how to play that. So not only can we help them with skills, but also kind of teach them how to play the game as well. Our biggest event is Play for Inclusion. So that event was something that Dan did, I believe. We didn't do it last year, but we're bringing it back this year. So we connect with Enable, which is also a DifferenceMaker with an organization, Best Buddies, and Disable the Labels to run a campus-wide event where we kind of bring in all of our contacts, all of our community programs together. So that's just a way to promote not only inclusion within like our areas, but also introduce like our players with people who participate in Best Buddies. The coolest thing about that too is we also partner with some of the Division I teams. So we're not promoting inclusion like just with like our group of or our club with the people that come to our events, but we also connect them with Division I players as well. We've reached out to club sports teams too, just to be able to not only have them like work with us, but also with different people. It is really, really rewarding, and you kind of learn a lot about yourself and about these people. So it is really, really cool. So here are just some pictures from some of our events. We typically have the same people coming to all of our events. A lot of them do come from Best Buddies or just from other organizations that we reach out to. So all of our players we don't really have like an age range really. A lot of them just tend to be like high schoolers or over the age of like 22. So we kind of do get older players, but that's not all the time. We usually will get younger players as well. Something else that our club partners with on campus is the Special Olympics Certified Basketball Program. I'm not sure if any of you guys have heard of it, but it's Sunday nights. So us, one of the fraternities, SIGTA, along with Best Buddies, we partner with Special Olympics to hold Unified. So basically it's just a league. So we're just finishing up our basketball league, and then we're trying to get a team together to play in like our I think like the Northern Massachusetts like regional tournament for basketball, and then we're going to move on to volleyball. So I think our club is really cool. That's my opinion, obviously. But I think it is a great idea. I know Dan had kind of started something similar at his high school, and once he got here, DifferenceMaker kind of provided him the opportunity to make that something that was on our campus, which I think is great. You don't really find a lot of schools that have, that provide students that opportunity to create new ideas or even develop a club like this, especially one that I think they wanted to make a nonprofit. So it is really cool. I'm going to shamelessly plug right now. We have a fundraiser for Krispy Kreme in April. So come get donuts because we need the money. But yeah, so that's just my feel about Love of the Game. So here's just some of our contact information, and that was our club last year. But I don't know if any of you guys have any questions about our club or anything like that. We just want to open up the floor. It's okay if you don't. Yeah.
What's your typical fundraising like?
So for fundraising, we've done like Chipotle fundraisers, bake sales yearly is what we do. We do a lot of the bake sales just because it's easiest for us to just be able to like camp out on campus. And we do like Chipotle ones as well, but we're definitely trying to branch out. Like we're starting the Krispy Kreme one because we believe that could give us a lot of success. But we're definitely looking for like new ideas for how to fundraise, just so we're not doing like the same things.
Do you work towards like yearly goals?
Yeah, so our biggest goal this year didn't necessarily have to do with the events we run. We did want to just add more events because last year we did one once a month, and we decided that we wanted to just like put on more events with different sports. So we tried not to repeat sports this year. But our biggest thing this year was just gaining more members for our club. So one of our deficits right now is that the majority of our club are all juniors, and then I'm graduating in the fall. So we're kind of looking for younger students to come on and be able to take over the club once we leave, just so we can kind of avoid that like hiatus year that happened a few years ago.
All right. Thank you, girl. So the next person I want to introduce to you is Sherry Saruk. And Sherry has been coming here talking to students since Stephen was a freshman. Stephen has now graduated and is at art school, am I correct? Entrepreneurship at Northeastern. And Lizzie is a senior here in the business school. So Sherry is the owner of SLS Fitness in Lowell, and she's also the founder of the St. Jude fundraiser, Fitness for a Cure. So she's going to tell you a little bit about that, but she's got a lot of entrepreneurial spirit. She's had some great experiences. She's raised a ton of money, and I'll let her tell you about that, and how she's been able to help out St. Reed's Hospital. So welcome, Sherry.
Hello. How's everybody today? Good. Thank you for listening. It's very difficult for people to get up here to speak. You guys have been wonderful, the last two speakers. But my name is Sherry Saruf. I own a strength and conditioning center here in Lowell called SLS Fitness. It's not far from here. It's probably like 7 minutes. But I am a UMass Lowell graduate, very successful business graduate. This is my two children. Steve and Elizabeth, who are both UMass Lowell. Steven's a graduate, Lizzie's a senior. You guys might recognize them. So owning a fitness studio years ago, I knew I wanted to do something philanthropic. And you know, when you own a strength and conditioning studio, you're in front of a lot of people coaching, teaching classes. I had a big community following me, and I went to a fundraising event when I was dating my husband a very long time ago before my kids were born, and a mom got up with a baby and she thanked everyone for saving her child's life. And I never forgot that one night when we were at dinner. And then when I was pregnant with Elizabeth, I went into preterm labor at 6 months, and you're supposed to go 9 months. So I was bedridden with a 2-year-old running around, and I laid on the couch every day, having a big gym, successful gym ramping around, thought, oh my goodness, how does a mom and dad do this? The worry was horrible. I laid there every day worrying about Elizabeth, and I thought, you know what? I kept praying every night, and I said, if she's born healthy, I really want to do something exciting and fun to give back. And being a fitness person and loving fitness, loving music and everything to do with performance. When she was born, I thought, all right, I'm gonna do a fitness show. This was 21 years ago. She was just born, and I thought, all right, I'm gonna have a fashion show, and I'm gonna have everybody walk down the runway. At the time, Nomar Garcia-Parra was in Red Sox and Celtics. I'm a big sports fan, so I thought they'd all come and they'd do this fashion show, and I'd have this event called Fitness for a Cure for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. The reason I chose St. Jude is I started to research all different philanthropic and what I wanted to put my time and energy into, and I loved St. Jude's message. I'm sure most of you have heard now of St. Jude, right? Film commercials, and you've seen it on TV. But 21 years ago, in the Merrimack Valley, no one had heard of St. Jude or what they were doing. And I thought it was important that I share the message of what St. Jude did in this area to save lives. So I thought, okay, St. Jude's my charity of choice. I'm gonna start this fitness show. I called all these athletes, no one answered my phone calls, nobody wanted to do it. So I rented a hall and I started the first event. I asked a bunch of my coaches, would you guys, if I put together a choreographed fitness show, would you guys be in it? They were like, yeah, I guess so. I bought every ticket, nobody went. I had to purchase all the tickets myself 21 years ago. That day, that night, we raised $5,000, which I thought was pretty good for a first-time event. It was in Nashville, New Hampshire, right? And after that night, everybody came up to me and said, Sherry, this was the coolest event because usually when you go to an event, you go through the auction, you sit down, you're bored, you leave. But this was a fitness show with music, and it was a cool thing you wanted to work out after. And nobody knew about St. Jude back then. No one had heard what St. Jude was doing. So they loved the St. Jude message. So 21 years later, here's my daughter, Healthy, and my son, and we've have an event here at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium for 21 years. And last year was our 20th year, and we've raised over $6 million for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Awesome. And it wasn't always easy, you guys. It was really hard. Fundraising is difficult. I know the past speaker said that philanthropic work is hard. It is daunting. Year after year, to have to go to people and ask them to give money is really, really daunting. But through the journey, I've taken college kids and high school kids to St. Jude. We have a St. Jude performance team now. It started with 5 people back in 1998, and now it has 120 people on the performance team. From 1st and 2nd graders, 3rd and 4th, 5th and 6th, 7th and 8th, high school, college, and then once they graduate from college, they go to the young adult team and an adult team. And what we do is we practice every week. And we put together this really cool fitness show. There's just as many boys as girls on the team. It's not a dance, it's fitness. And we go out and we raise money for the kids at St. Jude. We use our healthy, strong bodies to give back to those who can't. We represent the kids at St. Jude and use our strength. And we ask for people to go out there in the community, put on the show, and help raise money for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. This is some of the people on the team, some of the patients we've met. We've been to the hospital over 10 times. We just went this past June. I took 45 college and high school kids, and they volunteered for 4 days straight, playing with the kids, playing baseball with them, rocking the babies, talking to parents, coloring, lots of coloring, lots of glitter, lots of markers. We do a lot of sports when we go down there. We actually, because it's a lot of athletes, we take the kids down there. A lot of the guys want to play baseball, hockey, play the sport, and the kids love it. So we go all the time, take all these people down there, and I think it's important for the people on the team to see what they're fighting for all these 21 years. So I just want to explain why St. Jude a little bit, so if you guys don't know. What's really cool about St. Jude, it's in Memphis, Tennessee. There's only one St. Jude in the world, it's in Memphis, Tennessee. They never refuse a child for inability to pay. There's no other place in the world like that. Do you guys ever see the Patch Adams movie? I was the only other hospital in the world that accepted people without pay. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital is global, accepts anybody in the world. When we go there, we meet kids from all over. We've met kids from Lebanon, from Egypt, everywhere. You walk around the halls of St. Jude, it's a global, it's international. But they never refuse a child for inability to pay. And a lot of times through this journey, I've had moms call me from doing a lot of public speaking. They remember me, they call me in the middle of the night, they say, Sherry, my daughter just got diagnosed with cancer. How do I get to St. Jude? And I tell them, and they go, and a limousine drives the house and picks them up. and flies them free to the hospital, houses them the whole time they're there for the whole family, and pays for all their treatment. Do you guys know anybody that's ever been sick, the medical bills that pile up? St. Jude doesn't do, they don't take any money. Isn't that crazy? There's no other charity like it. That's very important to me that I give to that, because when you go there, there's no stone unturned. They tutor the brothers and sisters. There's medical. They take the kids to Target. The housing that they put them in is nicer than all our houses. The Target house is unbelievable. It's so wonderful that our money goes to all that and helps all these people around the world. They also, what's nice is they share freely all the research. It's a research hospital. So they share it around the world. I was at an event once with the CEO of Dana-Farber, and he was sitting beside me, and I thought, why are you at a St. Jude event, and you're at Dana-Farber? And he goes, because when I don't have the answers, guess who I call? I call St. Jude. And I had chills at that minute, knowing that our fundraising and what we do is funding Boston hospitals, New Hampshire hospitals, hospitals all over the world. They're sharing their research to help all our brothers and sisters and aunts and uncles and whoever is happens to be treated at the hospital. Isn't that pretty cool? So I love St. Jude for that. I'm sure you guys have seen the Marla Thomas videos and all that. You've seen her commercials for Thanksgiving, all the commercials you've seen with Jennifer Aniston, Michael Strahan. Who else is on those commercials? Jimmy Kimmel. They're all partnered with St. Jude. So my children are now helping me. I'm kind of passing the torch to them. My SLS business has exploded, so they're kind of helping me because it's hard to run a $600,000 a year event, which is in March. It's actually in 2 weeks. A big event coming up at the Littlemore Auditorium. I'll wrap up and tell you about. So maybe you guys can go and help me show up. But the event has really grown over the years. So my kids have been, since they're both business majors and they have entrepreneurial spirits of their own, they've been helping me run the whole thing, which is a great experience for them. But St. Jude, please, if anything today, just remember about St. Jude. If you ever have a family member that gets sick, just always look into St. Jude and see what they do, because it's the most amazing place on earth. It's crazy. Over the 21 years of having this, we actually were the first team ever last year in June that Disney World asked us to perform in the middle of Disney World. Now, if you're St. Jude and you want a brand, where do you want a brand? At Disney World, right? But Disney World never wanted to let St. Jude in because they were afraid that they weren't going to be inclusive to all the other charities in the world, which I think is pretty cool, right? But found out what we were doing by having kids perform and raise money, because all the kids on the team have to raise their own money on their own websites, because I'm trying to build little philanthropic entrepreneurs. They asked us to perform in the middle of Disney World last year. And you guys, it was crazy. It was like you're in Disney performing. It was one of the peak moments of my life. It was awesome to see my children, all those kids up there. We also got asked to meet the Celtics and to perform on the court. I received the Hero Award last year, and the whole team got to perform on the court. I met Kyrie, I know. I met a bunch of players. They were like coming over and thanking me, and it was really cool to get the St. Jude message out to the Celtics. We actually got asked to speak at the St. Jude Global Community Leadership, where we had to, Steve Elizabeth and I had to speak in front of all St. Jude fundraising events across the nation, because we're one of the top 10% in all the nation at fundraising. Right here in Lowell. You guys, it's right up the street. I'm right here in Lowell. And they asked us for the top 10% in all the country for fundraising. Isn't that pretty cool? Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I know. I have to tell you about these things. We've also partnered with Channel 5. So this year I took Emily Rima from Channel 5 down to Memphis. She toured. I've taken a lot of people down there to show them what St. Jude's about, so I think it's important to spread the message. Do you guys want to add anything about St. Jude before I ask questions?
Sure.
They have a different perspective than I do, so.
I'll just hold it. So I was in all your seats just a couple of years ago. I just want to give you my perspective. Right now, I graduated UML business in last spring, and now I'm at Northeastern studying arts administration and cultural entrepreneurship. Something I really want to touch is how important St. Jude was in my life, and how important doing this type of work is in your professional and educational lives. So I would not be through UMass Lowell and Northeastern, the internships I've had, the jobs I'm going for without St. Jude work, the first thing I always get asked in my interviews, whatever process I'm going through, is my work with St. Jude. So it is so important to have this type of philanthropic, charitable work. So moving forward, so that's just something that has helped me along the way.
And just a quick little plug, if you can't make it to our show in March, there actually is an on-campus event for St. Jude. It's called Up Till Dawn. It usually happens in early December. I was just the executive director this past year. It's a really fun way to raise money for St. Jude and get to hang out with your friends and celebrate on campus. So just a little plug for that.
Did any of you guys go to Up Till Dawn in here?
Oh, we got one.
Oh,
Thank you.
see, you could have, all these different people. I know, right? So, in my business world at SLS Fitness, I am really into branding. I make my whole strength and conditioning coaches wear branded clothing. We're really into our message of branding, and I think partnering with St. Jude and their branding is really important to me for professionalism. You know, you want to partner yourself with some sort of philanthropic work. Even listening to what she's doing right here on campus with For the Love of the Game, so it's called. I mean, I'm in awe over that because she doesn't have to do that. And anybody that takes a stand for something like that, I'm so impressed with, because kids like that need us. And you're a pretty special young lady, and you're an exercise phys major. If you ever want to come see me at SLS Fitness, please. I just think anybody who wants to give back, listen, you can knit for a cure. You can shoot hoops for a cure. I chose fitness. I love fitness. I love music. At the show, if you go, we crank hip-hop music, and we have so much fun, and it's crazy college kids. 6 kids are from UMass Lowell on the team, right? Yeah, 6 kids are performing that day on the stage for UMass Lowell. So it's March 14th, 11 a.m. is the day show, $35 for tickets, $15 for kids. You guys can get a bus or take an Uber over there, or you can even walk there. I love the support. I love the support. If you guys can make it, we would love it. You guys, I guarantee to have a great time. Lots of good food, good sports going on. And there's always Patriots players there and Celtics players, so you can meet some cool people. Does anybody have any questions about St. Jude or? Yes? Yeah, good question. She said, what's the hardest part about getting people to give donations? I think people feel my passion for wanting to help, and I think if you connect with people and they feel part of the passion and they want to join you in your crusade to help, I think that helps. Because I am so passionate about it. I've met so many kids. Every time I speak, I feel like I'm channeling all the kids down in Memphis that I met that can't speak, and I'm representing them, so I get excited to represent for them. And I love to show gratitude for anybody who's given $1, 1 cent, done anything for St. Jude, because they really appreciate it. When you're down in Memphis, they have a lot of gratitude for helping them. So it is hard though, but thank you, that's a great question. Does anybody else have a quick question? Fundraising is always really difficult. All right, well thank you, you've been very polite, appreciate it.
Hello. Oh, okay, that's loud. You guys hear me from the back? All right. Who's here freshman? Raise your hand. I'm just kidding. I just want to move. All right, this is how I want to start my presentation. Okay. Well, if you don't pay attention, then you're going to miss more of that. I got here. The whole scholarship piece is very important, but slowly I realized that there's just not enough scholarships to go around to get everyone free education. And student loan debt is starting to become a norm. And the thing that actually makes a huge difference is actually getting a high-paying job that will pay you off the student loans. and move you from lower class to middle class to the upper class. So jobs is the most important aspect here. So let's reframe the focus on that. Now, let's zoom to the future and we work our way backward. By 2030, there'll be over 10 million jobs going unfilled in the US. Globally, there's going to be 85 million unfilled jobs. Geez, this is actually mostly in the tech sector. What I mean by this is that tech sector does not necessarily just mean engineering or coding or anything like that. It's just tech companies who are trying to hire workers. There's just not enough people to work for them. What I call BS on this. There's currently, so who knows how many people are in the US? Raise your hand. Cool, all right. That's a lot of people. 330 million. But in actuality, there's 130 million people working 2 to 3 jobs to make $50K a year. Just to give you some perspective, if you make $100K a year in San Francisco, that's considered low income. That's why homelessness is on the rise, living expenses continue to grow. So if you don't get a high-paying job, you're practically screwed. A third of America, it's literally living paycheck to paycheck. I get this line from Andrew Yang. So, well, I think one of the biggest problems is underlying surface. I spoken to the head of hiring at Google, who told his 120 recruiters this: if you don't want to get fired, hire only out of Ivy League schools. So why the hell, what does that mean? Like, it's create a friggin' different injustice. So what I mean by this is, who here is familiar with the concept of FANG companies? Right, Facebook, Apple, Netflix, and all this stuff. They are supposed to set an example of what good tech companies look like. The more successful they become, more companies will try to emulate them, which means they will also emulate the same practice of hiring. More companies left and right are growing steadily, getting more funding to hire, but they only focus on the top 50 to the top 100 universities. State school, it's not in the question. Community college, not in the question, because they simply don't believe that there are great candidates outside of the elite schools. One of the things that is the biggest barrier is a resume. Resume is loosely correlated to how well you do on the job. It doesn't tell the full story. See, Harvard did another study in 2018 about resume and how ineffective it is that if you don't make your resume look white, you get 10 times less interviews. In 2018, only 2 years away. So the system is still remain broken, right? And while there's 130 million people looking for jobs, 72% recruiters are complaining that they can't find relevant talent. We have more than enough people to fill these roles. So what do we do about it? Well, let's go. Jesus, whenever I breathe you with this. Okay, let's try this. What we do is that we are creating a way where you can actually showcase your skills. We have something called, this is actually new, this is phase 2 of our product, but essentially, the recruiting process goes from resume, phone screening, and then assessment. Which one do you think is the most important? The assessment piece, because it is one of the things that assess whether or not you can perform on the job. Why is it the third step in the process? When you look at the resume, you already overlooked tons of good candidates. So why don't you just simply bring the assessment up front? We're creating an online digital skills-based profile that allows you to capture what exactly you're able to do. So for example, if you're looking to apply for a sales role or business development role, you should have the ability to communicate via email, which you can see on the right. That's the sample writing. And capturing a video of yourself pitching a business or services. A recruiter would then look at this and decide whether or not they should bring you in for an interview, not the fact that you essentially didn't go to Harvard or go to a community college. This way allows you to actually assess person's full potential capabilities. So here's some more example as to what these profiles looks like. This is still in beta, since you're a freshman, and I'm looking for a full-time job yet. I still have another opportunity for you. We're currently focusing on the most in-demand tech jobs, entry-level roles. You know, the ones that they ask you for 4 and 5 years of experience. Yeah, those ones. Getting your first job shouldn't need the experience, because when it comes down to it, when we ask recruiters, so what exactly would you be doing on these jobs? They tell you the exact things that you can actually do that don't need 4 or 5 years of experience, right? We focus on business development, customer success, and software engineering and recruiting, which is on the rise. Now, previously, we had a model where we were running skills-based hiring competitions, where it's like an Indeed, but instead of applying with your resume, you submit the projects that highlight your skills in order to get hired. The reason why we moved away from that view is because the alignment of paying off student loan debt or scholarship wasn't matching up with getting a job. So we want to focus specifically on the thing that matters most. I'll tell you how we helped Brian get hired. He was a business major, but he had a background in software engineering. So he actually applied to 200 jobs after he graduated. Guess what recruiters told him? Why is it that you're applying for a software engineering role when you have a business major? So he got rejected 200 times. He applied to Wayfair twice and got rejected twice. We were so fortunate to come across Wayfair and ran a competition with them, which Wayfair paid us for. We're a for-profit company. Social impact. We have a mission. Brian was able to create an app, submitted that app as a way to showcase his ability, and Wayfair ended up hiring him in the process. Same thing happened with all these other candidates that we're trying to help. This is a classic way as to how we were able to help candidates who might have been overlooked on a resume. And so we're moving away from this, unfortunately, but we still have 4 more competitions left that we're trying to phase out, one of which we launched yesterday. Who's here familiar with Mass Challenge? Nice. So they're like E4All. It's an accelerator where they host 100 startup companies of all multiple different sectors, including social impact, even nonprofits. And they partner with us to hire interns for the summer. Each candidate that they hire, they'll pay $500 to help pay off student loan debt. Sounds good? All you have to do is create a video talking about your favorite company or startup, and then provide 3 ways as to how you would help them get better or be helpful to them. And then you'll get hired. No resume required, no GPA whatsoever. So, if you're interested, feel free to. Can I take out their phone and take a picture of this? Yeah? All right. Thank you. And this is not the end. So, this is the team. We met. Huh? I'll say. We'll send out an email follow-up, if that's okay. Sure. Is this cool so far? All right. Who's here from BOA? Boston Academy. Nice. You too. All right. This is the team. We all met each other at Northeastern University. We got literally on all of the lists that there are because we're so young. You guess how old I am? Oh, geez, someone else young, 30? All right. I'm 24. All right. Cool. Now we get the age aside. We can go back to how this all begins. I think you'll enjoy this very much. So, I lived in Vietnam. When I was born in Vietnam, and just to show you sort of like where I come from, I used to live in an age where Vietnam looked something like this. We lived in bamboo houses, right next to rivers and stuff like that. So my mom sacrificed 40 years of her life in order to bring me and my brother to move to America because she believed that if you can get an education here, you can do anything. Believing in the American dreams. Well, we were sponsored by our stepdad. I didn't know anything. I didn't even know a single word of English. I was so scared. I moved here when I was 10 years old. But slowly, what we didn't know is that my stepdad became really abusive. Every morning at 4 a.m., yelling and fighting, and there was domestic violence. And we were trying to figure out ways to get out. 6 months later, with a lot of help, we were able to escape and live on our own really quickly when I was 10 years old. Didn't know a single word of English, but I wanted to help my mom. So I put my head down in school. I couldn't read a single book. What do you do when you can't read books and the kids are in kindergarten? They make fun of you. They try not to help you. They associate you with being a loser. So I cried quite a bit. But then I continued to pick up English, watch a lot of TVs, watch captions and subtitles to learn English. And then got fluent in English within 6 months, pretty quickly. But the troubles doesn't end there. You see, throughout the slide, you're going to see the number, and it represents something very important. I live in Dorchester, which is an underserved neighborhood in Boston. In 2005, or back in the day, it was a gang-ridden community. I was attacked and robbed twice when I was 15 years old. The second time ended leave me in a hospital. And when I asked the cops for help, they accused me of being part of a gang and refused to help. So I wasn't able to even call an ambulance. My mom was really mad. But I was quite bloody and she was crying and didn't know what to do. And so from that moment on, I mean, I didn't pay attention to the fact that I was beaten up. I was more worried about the fact that if I encounter a situation like this and there were people I care about, what can I do? I don't want to protect myself more than I want to protect the people I care about, so I ended up studying 7 different martial arts. Hence the back. I do MMA. 7 different martial arts allows me to have the discipline to work hard, but also have the ability to kick ass. Now, this is where the real challenges begin. School. I never really understand what the concept of learning is, honestly. People were just telling me, oh, go to school, get good grades. I was like, that's easy. Just memorize things and spit it back on the textbook. Well, I was still trying to prove to my classmates that I was smart. Everyone thought I was dumb. My English was crap. Keep on making grammar mistakes whenever I write essays. The only thing that I was good at was math. The first time I actually took the SAT exam, let me use your scale. It's out of 1600, right? The first time I took the SAT exam, I got a 900. What? This guy got a 900? No way. But I realized that the score is not indicative of how intelligent I am. So for the next 3 months, I took over 27 practice exams and took the SAT 2 more times. Got my score from 900 to 1400. Still not enough to go to Ivy League school, you know, Asian parents that want you to go to Harvard and stuff like that. So the next number, 75. This is essentially the average of the amount of tests I took to prepare for my AP exam. I took AP Physics, AP Chem, AP Bio, AP US History, I think about 5 APs, 75 practice exams, and I got all 5 wrong. I even ended up with a 4.0 GPA. Wow, amazing. And then, problem doesn't stop there. I applied to 10 colleges because when you were a part of Bottom Line, which is an organization that helped low-income kids get into college, you can only apply to 10 schools back in the day. I thought my resumes looked amazing. 4.0 GPA, a whole bunch of great test scores. I should be going to Ivy League school. Let's apply to Harvard, MIT, Brown, BU, and so on and so forth. And then, well, MIT was actually my top choice, and that was the first rejection I got. Followed by Harvard, followed by Brown, followed by BU, and so on and so forth. I was rejected for almost all the schools that I applied to. I was like, what the hell is this? Well, The only school that accepted me was Northeastern University. And that's when the price tag hit. $40,000 a year in 2013. Now it costs $70,000 a year to go to Northeastern. My mom was making $20,000 a year, taking care of me and my older brother, who she already spent half of the entire yearly salary to pay for his education. There was no way that I could afford to go to school. So what I did was I wrote 120 essays to apply for 40 scholarships. I got rejected 28 times. But out of the 12 scholarships that I received, I ended up earning $500,000 worth of scholarships. I went to school in Hawaii. So, guess what major I studied? Yeah. Okay. The first 70% of the answer is probably incorrect. I studied mechanical engineering because I have not earned in school. But slowly I realized that I didn't want to work with machines, I wanted to work with people, and so I switched essentially my career. I went into Northeastern realizing that I was behind from a lot of my classmates. I was never introduced to 3D printing back in the day, but then my classmates were already ahead and know what it is. And my first 3D printing assignment, it took me 3 days to complete, well, it took my classmate 3 hours. That's when I was like, so I went to Boston Land Academy and I still get wrecked at Northeastern University. It's not easy. Well, just keep on going up now. It's exponential growth. When I got my first co-op working at an engineering company, I realized that this is not what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. I started to read books. I started to gather knowledge in things that I didn't understand, things that I questioned about business, psychology, marketing, just anything that I just don't understand how the world all comes together. I mean, I was a sophomore, but I can just imagine being a freshman. Like, you have no idea why you're here in the first place. You're probably, some of you know some idea, but most of you, they ask you the question, what do you want to be when you grow up? None of you are going to choose the answer to be happy, but most of them will be concentrated towards career. Career choices, what do you want to do? Well, the answer is, I don't know. I was fortunate to go into the path that allows me to figure out what I wanted to do earlier on, by getting as much knowledge into my head as fast as possible. And that comes in the form of books and audiobooks. When to this day, I read over 560 books. And before reading these 200 books, I haven't read a single day in my life, or any books. And so it's important that this event has changed my life completely. So I had the idea for Scholarship, initially figuring out ways to help students get scholarships without having to write essays. Because there are more things that you are good at and you can showcase to other people to earn the reward you want. But slowly I realized, like I said, getting a career is more important. So we have iterated, pivoted, and moved towards something that's actually going to work. We started in college, and I started when I was 20 years old. 24, so it's been 4 years of being 100% to 150% all the time. I'm already exhausted by yesterday, and I'm here today because this part of my job is what I enjoy the most. This number represents total amount of emails I have sent in the past 4 years. 30,000 of which was last year. It ramps up. When you figure out exactly what you want to do in life, you'll figure out the things that you need to get together in order to make that possible. Once you figure out your dreams, your passion, the things that you actually want to do for the rest of your life without feeling like it's work, there's no stopping you. I mean, you've listened to all the presentations before. It's not work to these people. These are things that matters to them and that they enjoy doing. Wake up every single day not feeling like, I have to get out of bed, but actually waking up every day feeling like you're going to make a difference. And so I tell you my story not because it's super glamorous or anything. I tell you my stories because it doesn't matter where you are, what circumstances you were under. There are still ways to define yourself by proving to yourself that you can do it, and that those actions will ultimately define who you are. Thank you. Questions? Anyone?
Say you're 24.
I'm 24. You can ask me about anything, about the business or even myself, anything that I can give you so that you can be successful for the next 4 years. Yes?
What's your favorite fighting style?
I do MMA, so I do jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai, karate, judo, taekwondo, and a couple of others. Any other questions? Yes?
How does one do a backflip as well as you?
Let's concentrate the question on the things that matters. You just practice. Honestly, I did it by myself because people were scared to spot me. But I also looked up parkour back in the day and I thought it was cool and just self-taught myself on that. Yes? Oh my God. Save it. Send me a connection on LinkedIn and ask me all the questions about martial art. Yes?
You said you got a lot of research out there. What would you say is like the most important?
Okay. This question was on what type of books to read. My philosophy on it before I reveal the next slide, which is the things that you probably want to be interested in. My philosophy is that you shouldn't read just one book. One book was written by one person who reflects back to experience and knowledge, but one person can never have all the answers. What you wanted to do is to read as much as possible, learning from multiple different sources, and consider the experience and perspective that works for you. The things that get repeated over and over again will be the truth. But the things that are applicable to you is only unique to you. You will only find value in that for yourself. And so the next slide, you take out your phone again. This is my initial book list that I revised for you. All right, next question. Yes? What made me decide to change my major? I didn't change my major. I got the engineering degree for fun. Any other questions? Yes?
How do you find time now to continue?
How do I find now to continue to do my work? Well, this is a full-time job, and this is my company. I have 5 employees. I raise money, have customers. This is my full-time job. Essentially, okay, here's something that you should know. Lumina Foundation ran multiple decade studies to correlate whether or not your major correlate with what your end career is. There's no correlation across the board. You can start a social worker and then end up as a hedge fund manager, or you can start a computer science, and then you ended up working as a therapist. Yes?
Obviously, pretty young, pretty successful and established, so like, what would you say was the hardest thing to overcome being in like college lifestyle, being RAs, while trying to do this and pursue it? Like, what was the hardest thing?
The hardest thing for me was to not allow myself getting in my own success, getting in the way of my own success. If you listen to the voice in your head every single day, you'll hear a whole bunch of excuses, but that often conflicts with what you want. The hardest thing for me is to overcome myself every single morning, every day. I wake up at 5:30, and then I go to jiu-jitsu, I beat people up before I go to work, and then I come home. And I try to sleep at 9, trying to get around 7 or 8 hours of sleep, but usually I get 6. The myth of the fact that you have to pull all-nighters is not true. You only pull all-nighters on some occasion. For the most part, it's a marathon that you want to consistently train your mind and body to keep up. I can honestly say that I'm ahead in terms of my age, but there are more people who are more successful than I am, given different circumstances and different resources. I have to work hard. Like I said, being 100% for the past 4 years every single day is not an easy task. Sometimes it requires you 150% extroversion. I'm an introvert. I didn't know how to hold a conversation until I was 23. I started working on that when I was 20 because whenever I talk to a person, I usually rehearse a line in my head, what question to ask. But then now I can actually hold a steady conversation without having to do that. But it took me 3 to 4 years to actually talk to someone. But I didn't stop, not one. Next question.
Well, thank you very much.